The jungle was alive with whispers of leaves and distant calls, but one sound cut through the chaos, a tiny, anxious cry. Among the dense trees and thick underbrush, a baby gorilla wandered just a few steps away from his group, drawn by a rustling that promised adventure. He had been curious before, testing his limits, but something about today felt different, almost urgent. Every snap of a branch seemed louder, every shadow a potential threat. The air was thick with tension, as if the forest itself was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Could a young gorilla really survive alone in the heart of this wild and dangerous jungle? And what kind of predators might be silently circling, watching his every move? The answers were terrifyingly clear. Survival here was a delicate balance between instinct, speed, and luck, and any misstep could cost him dearly. Predators lurked everywhere, from the treetops to the underbrush, and even the most experienced silverback could only hope to intervene in time. The baby had stepped into a world where danger was constant, and the forest's rules were unforgiving. The group sensed something was wrong almost immediately. The mother emitted sharp warning calls, a language of panic and instruction that traveled through the foliage with astonishing speed. The silverback stiffened, scanning the surrounding shadows with an intensity that made even the smallest rustle sound like a trumpet. Other juveniles paused, their eyes wide, sensing the unease in the air. No one moved too quickly, for even a single misstep could provoke hidden dangers lurking nearby. Branches snapped under cautious steps as the silverback and a few adults advanced slowly, leaving the younger gorillas in a safer clearing. The baby's tiny footprints were scattered, leading deeper into the undergrowth. Each broken twig and bent leaf told a story of a creature that had ventured too far. The adults followed methodically, reading the jungle like an open book, every sound, every shadow providing critical information. Time seemed to stretch as they navigated the twisting maze of vines and moss. Suddenly, a shadow shifted along the forest floor, drawing everyone's attention. The baby had stopped near a fallen log, eyes wide, ears twitching, completely unaware of the danger just beyond the trees. For a moment, the jungle was eerily silent, as if it were holding its own breath. Then, the unmistakable hiss of a predator sliced through the tension. Every gorilla froze, muscles taut, aware that the unseen threat could strike at any moment. The mother called again, louder this time, her voice a combination of fear and command. The baby hesitated, glancing toward the sound, unsure whether to respond. Could he recognize his family's call amid the chaotic noises of the jungle? Would he move toward safety or be paralyzed by curiosity and fear? With a tentative shuffle, he began to retreat, guided by instinct, the sound of his mother's voice leading him through the tangled undergrowth. The silverback advanced cautiously, moving between the baby and potential danger, eyes scanning for movement. Every step was deliberate, every gesture calculated, a mixture of patience and authority. The group's cohesion was their greatest weapon, a strategy honed over generations. The forest could be deadly, but together, they held a power that few predators would challenge. The hissing grew louder, closer, yet the silverback's presence gave a thin but vital sense of protection. As the baby gorilla slowly rejoined the group, guided by calls and shadows, the tension remained. The jungle seemed to exhale only slightly, the immediate danger unresolved, a reminder that every day in the wild was a delicate dance between curiosity and survival. The forest was alive, unpredictable, and full of lessons the baby would learn far sooner than any human could teach. And somewhere, hidden in the underbrush, a silent watcher observed, waiting for the next moment to test the balance of life. The mother's sharp calls sliced through the forest, demanding attention. Her voice carried urgency, a warning to every gorilla nearby that something had gone terribly wrong. The silverback, eyes narrowing, scanned the underbrush with caution, signaling the others to move carefully. Leaves rustled under their weight, each step deliberate, as if the forest itself were guiding them toward the source of the disturbance. Broken branches and flattened grass revealed a subtle trail. Tiny footprints of the baby gorilla intertwined with marks that suggested a larger, heavier presence had passed. The silverback crouched, sniffing and examining each imprint with precision, analyzing which way the trail led. Every observation added weight to the possibility that a predator, maybe a giant python, had come dangerously close. The group moved methodically, fanning out but staying within sight of each other. The baby's mother glanced back repeatedly, her eyes wide with concern, ready to intervene if the trail took them too close to a threat. The younger gorillas followed hesitantly, mirroring the cautious behavior of the elders. Every sound, the snap of a twig, a falling leaf, made muscles tense and hearts beat faster. The marks became more distinct as the trail led toward a small clearing near the river. There, broken leaves and disturbed earth suggested the weight and movement of something massive. The silverback paused, tail stiff, his head tilting slightly to listen for any unusual sounds. The group's silence contrasted sharply with the earlier clamor, each gorilla fully aware that one wrong move could trigger a dangerous encounter. A subtle shift in the shadows caught their attention. Something had slithered nearby, leaving faint impressions in the damp soil. The mother's calls intensified, her tone sharper, almost desperate, signaling both warning and guidance. The silverback advanced a few steps, chest low, arms ready to react. The forest seemed to contract around them, the air thick with the tension of unseen watchers. The baby's trail merged briefly with a heavier, winding path that looked serpentine, curving unnaturally between roots and rocks. Each bend hinted at a massive body having moved with stealth and power. The group exchanged quick glances, reading each other's expressions with silent understanding. The forest had provided them clues, and the predator's identity was likely not far behind. Branches above shivered as if disturbed by an invisible presence. The silverback's gaze fixed on a darker patch of undergrowth where leaves appeared freshly displaced. The group slowed, feeling the weight of the unknown pressing from all directions. Each gorilla instinctively positioned themselves to shield the baby, their movements protective but calculated, knowing that any hasty action could alert a lurking python. The trail led toward a narrow riverbank where mud and flattened vegetation showed signs of struggle. The mother called again, her voice quivering slightly, but steady. The silverback approached cautiously, moving between the baby's faint footprints and the path of the potential predator. The jungle remained tense, a living maze of shadows and whispers, guiding the group closer to the truth of what had passed through and hinting at the encounter that was about to unfold. The clearing opened up near the river, the sunlight glinting on wet leaves and damp earth. There, coiled like a dark rope, lay the python, massive and tense. Its body undulated slightly, muscles rippling as it rested over something hidden from view. The silverback froze, chest rising and falling, eyes locked on the moving shadow. Every gorilla stiffened, branches and stones gripped instinctively, their senses stretched to the limit. The mother called out, her cries urgent, echoing through the trees. The younger gorillas huddled together, trembling, while the adults formed a protective circle. The silverback lifted his arms, pounding the ground in warning, the sound booming through the clearing. The python's head shifted slightly, eyes glinting with cold awareness. Every movement of the predator was deliberate, and the tension in the air grew almost unbearable. Branches snapped as the group advanced cautiously. Each step was deliberate, calculated to avoid provoking the snake, yet the silverback's presence radiated authority. Stones and sticks lay ready, weapons of instinct more than strategy, meant to intimidate and protect rather than strike. The baby's mother inched forward, vocalizing low, rhythmic calls meant to reassure her lost infant and signal the group's readiness. The python's body coiled tighter around its hidden prey, the outline barely visible through the thick layers of scales. Researchers standing at a distance through binoculars held their breath, believing the baby gorilla might be trapped beneath. Their minds raced with scenarios, imagining the worst, yet the gorilla's composed but assertive stance suggested a battle not just of strength, but of will and intelligence. The silverback beat the earth with his fists, grunts rising into sharp, guttural calls. The python's head lifted slightly, tongue flicking, sensing the vibrations and evaluating the threat. The mother edged closer, her gaze fixed on the dark coils, her body tense yet controlled. The younger gorillas mimicked her posture, instinctively following her lead while remaining alert to the slightest shift in the predator's position. For several minutes, the the standoff remained, a silent contest of tension and patience. Every snap of a twig, every shuffle of leaves heightened the suspense. The forest itself seemed suspended, watching as the silverback and his group maintained their vigil. The python, massive and patient, appeared unwilling to release whatever it held without assessment, its body flexing with quiet menace. Suddenly, the silverback took a step closer, chest forward, his voice rising in a commanding rhythm. The python shifted abruptly, the coils stretching and contracting as if preparing to defend or flee. The baby's mother barked a series of sharp notes, guiding the group while keeping her infant in mind. The air seemed thick with possibility, danger palpable, every heart in the clearing synchronized with the tension of the moment. As the sunlight dappled through the canopy, the group stood ready, watching every movement of the python. The anticipation was suffocating, the outcome uncertain. Even the youngest gorillas sensed the gravity of the encounter, their instincts sharpened by fear and training. The stage was set for what could either be a tragic moment or an astonishing twist, as the forest held its breath and waited for the next move. The python's body convulsed violently, rippling with force as if reacting to an invisible threat. The gorillas stiffened, bracing for the worst. Branches shook, and dust rose from the forest floor. Every heartbeat felt amplified as the silverback stepped forward, muscles tensed, ready to defend the group. The mother called sharply, eyes scanning every shadow, convinced her infant might be trapped. Then, from the dense underbrush nearby, a small movement caught their attention. The baby gorilla burst into view, scrambling across the forest floor, ears flat against his head and eyes wide with fright. Relief washed over the mother instantly as she reached out, guiding him toward safety. He was unharmed, his tiny body trembling from adrenaline rather than injury. It became clear that the python had not captured the infant. The coils that had seemed deadly moments before now revealed their true prize, a young antelope, struggling but alive beneath the snake's grip. The silverback exhaled deeply, posture relaxing slightly, but still vigilant. The forest seemed to shift around them, the tension giving way to cautious relief. The mother wrapped her arms around the baby, murmuring soothing calls as she held him close. His small chest rose and fell rapidly, but his eyes darted to the python, curious and alert. Other gorillas gathered, inspecting the clearing, observing the snake from a safe distance. The silverback remained in front, a protective barrier between predator and infant, every muscle coiled like a spring ready to strike if needed. The python, realizing its prize was no longer at risk, slowly uncoiled, muscles rippling with effort. Its massive head lifted, tongue flicking to sense the surroundings. The antelope remained trapped, but the snake's focus shifted to the threat of the gorillas rather than its meal. The silverback advanced cautiously, chest puffed, arms raised, communicating authority and warning. Juveniles and subadults flanked the mother and baby, creating a semicircle around them. Their eyes followed the python's every motion, ready to act at a moment's notice. The clearing was a tense theater of power and survival, predator and prey measured against instinct and experience. Every breath, every twitch of a tail or coil was observed with acute attention. The antelope wriggled in the python's coils, struggling to free itself, and the gorillas watched, silent but alert. The silverback let out a low, rumbling warning that seemed to reverberate through the forest. The snake hesitated, muscles trembling with force, sensing the collective power of the group. The balance of the clearing had shifted, predator and protector locked in a silent contest. As the baby clung to his mother, eyes wide with cautious awe, the python finally loosened its grip on the antelope, retreating toward the riverbank. The silverback's eyes never left the snake until it disappeared into the shadows. The baby, safe in the embrace of his mother, gave a small, shivering squeak, and the group slowly relaxed, but the intensity of the encounter lingered. The forest had revealed its danger, yet also its mercy. The silverback thumped the ground with tremendous force, branches snapping and leaves scattering as the group advanced toward the python. The massive snake hissed, muscles rippling in warning, but the combined presence of the gorillas proved overwhelming. Stones were thrown, sticks jabbed, and a chorus of guttural shouts filled the clearing. The predator hesitated, then began retreating toward the river, its massive body sliding through mud and underbrush. The mother gorilla rushed to her baby, enveloping him in her arms. Her chest heaved with relief as she whispered low, comforting sounds. The baby clung tightly, eyes wide but safe, the tremor of fear slowly fading. Around them, the group remained alert, scanning the shadows, ensuring the python would not return. The clearing, once tense and foreboding, now felt charged with the quiet power of protection and survival. Juveniles and subadults edged closer, circling their mother and the infant. Their eyes never left the python's slithering form, every instinct focused on defense. The silverback stood in front, a living barrier between threat and family, his posture commanding respect even from the forest itself. Every rustle of leaves, every distant call of birds, was observed with precision, the group fully aware that the jungle offered no forgiveness for mistakes. As the python disappeared into the river's edge, the silverback pounded the ground once more, signaling the all clear. The mother continued to comfort her baby, lifting him slightly to inspect for injuries, but finding none. Relief spread slowly through the group, the collective tension dissipating yet leaving a sense of respect for the power and unpredictability of their environment. The baby's tiny squeaks were answered by soothing murmurs, reinforcing the bond between him and the group. The sunlight filtered through the dense canopy, illuminating the mud-slicked clearing. Leaves shivered in the breeze, reflecting the quiet aftermath of a moment that could have ended tragically. The silverback moved among the group, ensuring each member was calm and in position. The mother and baby retreated slightly, still close but safe, while the others began to relax, their postures lowering, still watchful but reassured. The observers, hidden at a distance, watched in awe. Every motion, every protective instinct displayed by the gorillas, was a lesson in survival and family loyalty. The scene held them captive, a stark demonstration of how raw power, intelligence, and instinct intertwined to shape life in the jungle. The baby's safety was not guaranteed by chance, but by the vigilance and courage of the group around him. Slowly, the forest seemed to reclaim its rhythm. Birds resumed their calls, insects buzzed among the leaves, and the river's gentle flow reflected the sunlight. The baby clung to his mother, curious and alert, as though learning silently from the protective maneuvers of the silverback and the group. Every eye remained aware, but a quiet calm settled over the clearing, a fragile but powerful peace born from instinct and courage. The silverback gave one last thunderous beat on the earth, asserting dominance and security. The mother held her infant close, murmuring softly, and the group began to move together, stepping carefully through the underbrush. The python was gone, the baby was unharmed, and the jungle's law had been enforced without a single fatality. Life here was raw, unpredictable, and merciless, but for now, the small gorilla had been granted another chance to grow, explore, and survive.